Here we go. So yes, we are recording the session now. Thank you very much, Diana. So the second question, which can lift heavier weights, a human or a beetle? And I like to listen to Angie Valero. Angie, what can you tell us about that? Angie, woman. Angie Valero. Hello. Do not forget that this is the speaking test. This is the speaking section of the test. So that's why it's so important to answer. No, not even that way. Okay, F por Angie. So let's continue with Tatiana Spitia. Please,
Sorry,
Tatiana.
teacher. I
No,
just
you
came
lost your
in.
turn. I'm
What are
sorry.
you talking about?
I just came in. Oh my God, you've got the face to say that. Okay, Angie, answer the second question then. Yep, you can do it. Don't wear it up, please. Angie, hello.
Hello, teacher. Can you
Yeah,
listen to me?
yes, I can perfectly listen to you. So would you please answer the second question, which can lift heavier weights, a human or a beetle?
Okay, let me see, please.
Mm. Okay, I think you don't need to take that long. So Danielle, please. Yeah, you were raising your hand, Danielle. Hello. Oh my God, you guys are so weird this morning. Starting to feel a little bit afraid. Danielle, are you there? This feels like a nightmare, to be honest. My nightmares are very weird, by the way. So that's why I say that. Okay, so let's try with who was it? Uh, I'm sorry. Tatiana Alvarez then. Tatiana, please. Wow.
Hello, hello.
Hello, Danielle. Yes.
Oh, teacher, I'm really sorry. I don't know what happened. The configuration of the my whole computer just screwed up.
No
Okay,
worries.
the
So,
answering the second question, I would like to believe that logically speaking, in terms of, you know, size,
mhm,
humans can lift heavier weights. But I mean, it's like with the same with ants, like
uh-huh,
because they're tiny, they're capable of lifting twice their size because it's a matter of scales. Like if
uh-huh,
they're small, you can lift smaller stuff, but they're heavier.
uh-huh.
And we can lift heavier weights, but I think that in comparison on a
Mm-hmm.
scale, a beetle can lift heavier weights for them at least.
Uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. Absolutely right, Daniel. That's actually the right answer. That is absolutely true. So of course we can lift heavier things than what beetles can do, but in terms of proportion, as you said it, they can lift 1,000 times their own weight. As if we could lift around 80 tons, for instance, a human. So yeah, so it's in proportion. That's different. Thank you very much, Daniel, for helping me feeling a little bit better with that question. So the third one, who has the louder call? A lion or a human? Who has the louder call? A lion or a human? And I like perhaps, let me see. Oh, Tatiana Alvarez, by the way, she wanted to answer the previous one, so she can help us answering this one, if that's okay. Thank you, woman.
Okay, I
Yep.
think that the third one, the lion has a lot of coal because I don't know. I read that their coal is really explosive
Mm-hmm.
on I don't know because they open her mouth really uh, I don't know big, but I think that is a lie.
Yeah, that's true, Tatiana. That's true. The roar can be heard from around 8 kilometers away. So 8 kilometers is quite a distance. But that Daniel has got a point. He says that the guy that sells Mazamora screams quite high, and that is 100% true, right? That is absolutely true. So when you are having any sort of meeting or a class via Zoom or Teams, people can listen to him from the other side of the microphone. So yeah, they scream quite high. And actually, to be honest, and talking a bit, I mean, talking seriously about that, wow, that's quite challenging, because I mean those people need to develop that volume in their voice, but they do it pretty much every day. So wow, right? That's something that must be really hard. But still, lions can scream louder than even the Mazamorra guy, to be honest. So number 4, it says, who is better at mathematics? A human or a chimp? A chimpanzee. So let's see who can answer that. Let me just try to see, perhaps Jerson. I like to listen to Jerson. Jerson Abril, Mister. Question number 4.
Okay, teacher. Mm, mm, I believe that it's better in mathematics is a human because the human is
Uh-huh.
more logistic.
Uh-huh.
Difference between a chimpanzee, the chimpanzee has intelligence but not more advanced.
There you go.
And
Mhm.
our intelligence,
There you go, Jerson. That is true. This is one of those questions that is so obvious that makes you doubt, right? Like you say, like, what is the trick with the question? Because it's so obvious. And yeah, of course, humans are better. But what they say is that chimps, they can do some basic operations, including adding up. I mean, they can add up. Can you imagine that? So they can do some basic maths. So like they get the level of maths that some languages students and teachers have, basically, based on that. So they can do some basic operations, and that's very, very impressive. So let's go with the last one, which goes, which animal shows more sympathy, a human or an elephant? That is quite a hard question, I would say. And Michael seems to want to answer
uh,
that. So please, mister.
yes, I guess is the elephant. The
Hmm.
elephant is more sympathy than the human because um well, I don't know the answer, but I I guess
Hmm.
because and these the elephants are very, I don't know how to say it, but a nice animal
Uh-huh.
because a human used to be, well, a rust race.
Hmm.
Well, I don't know how to say it, but I think the elephant.
There you go. Thank you very much, Michael. That's what we could say is that that's sort of relative. That's debatable. Because we cannot say that. I mean, we humans are so different from each other. But at least we can say that they don't kill each other just like that, and that makes a huge difference. You know that, and this is something which is happening right now in the city. Uh, People are killing each other over cell phones, right? So at least that's something that wouldn't happen in the case of elephants. And apart from that, um, when they feed together and they wait for herd members, for crippled members of the herd. By the way, this word is so important, guys. Look at this word. You know what herd is? I just put it on the chat box. Herd. No. So guys, this is very
It's like
important.
a lot of animals, teacher. Well,
Yeah, we could
when
put it
it's
like
like
that.
a
Yeah. Yeah, it's a group of animals, but not any group of animals. In this case, we are talking about a group of animals that are not hunters, let's say. So a group of animals that don't, you know, like hunt others, because we have another word for that. But I want to be very careful because I know that this thing with the with groups and stuff, it's a little bit confusing. Uh, so I don't know if you can. There you go. This is this is actually very this is very interesting. Look, I'm going to share with you something. Let me just double check the place where I'm taking this from, because the thing is that depending on the kind of animal that we are talking about, there are different kinds of names uh, for the groups of animals. You see, so we've got and actually I just found it on Wikipedia, and that's the what they call the collective noun. You see, this is something we have to be very careful with. Herd is like an example of a collective noun. So I don't know if you can see my screen on Chrome in this moment. No?
No,
No.
teacher.
No.
There you go. Let me just share again. So I can show you this because I believe this is quite an interesting thing for you to double check. We have to be very careful when talking about groups of animals. So yes, in this article, I will share this article with you here in the chat box, guys, so you can save it and have a look at it later. Um, there are different names for, look, for instance, in the case of horses, you see. So we've got here the scientific name, so the Equidae, for instance, but we have the name for when they are young, female, male, the collective noun, and the collateral adjective and a trivial name. You see, so there are different kinds of names for the animals. So, for example, in the case of the of the of the horses and the jacks and everything, we've got all these different names, for instance, and in this case, the collective noun that we also have for elephants applies to them. So, for instance, uh, we can say a herd of horses, for instance, a herd of horses, you see? But you cannot say a herd of dogs, for instance. In this case, you know that the name for the group of animals is called a pack, you see? So you say a pack of dogs, for instance, or a pack of wolves, you see? Same thing happens with for example with birds. You see, you don't say a pack of birds or a herd of birds. We say a flock. For instance, a flock of ducks, of ducks as in you know a duck, not dog. So we've got flux, for instance, and look at this one, which is perhaps one of the most interesting. I'd like to ask you, just in case you guys know, perhaps, how do you call a group of lions, for instance? Based on what I've said so far, is it a flock of lions? Is it a pack of lions? Is it a herd of lions? What could you say? What can you say, guys, about that? How do you? But don't Google it, please. You try. You have to try to guess it.
I will say
Well,
flock or pack or flock. Pack. Pack.
Pack. That makes sense,
Yeah.
right? Any other guess, guys? Any other guess? No idea? Well, it could be a pack, right? But no, you cannot imagine the word. And actually, it sounds very nice. I really like the way it sounds. Let me just look for it. Let me just look for it. Look, a pride of lions. You say, you call it a pride of lions or a sod of lions. That's how you call it. So I just love that word in this context, you see? So there was a pride of 10 lions, you see? And in this case, we are basically talking about a group of lions. Um, so this is very crazy, guys, this thing with the names of animals for groups of animals and stuff. Because for instance, we say a pride of lions, but if we're talking about a leopard We don't say a pride of leopards. We would say the leap. You see, this is so confusing sometimes. So this is something very, 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 very complex in English, because in Spanish we basically, in most of the case, I mean, we have less words. For instance, in the case of lions, we would say una manada de leones, but in the case of cows, for instance, we would say un rebaño, right? Un rebaño de vacas. I believe that's okay. You don't say una manada de vacas. You see, because it's like we tend to use manada for animals which are, hunters, and but for those which are not, we tend to say rebaño. So yeah, that's kind of hard, but there you go. So yes, guys, this article is super nice. It's really, really cool. And it's based on a book that I will tell you exactly in a moment what's the name of the book. But just look at this one. I like this one. The octopus. You see? So a group of octopus is called consortium. You see? A consortium of octopus. Lemur. Let me just look for that because you made a comment about that one. Uh, a conspiracy. I cannot believe it. This is so funny. I mean, this is weird and crazy. A conspiracy of lemur. Wow. Actually, there is another article which is called "Strange Collective Animal Names." So look at this article, guys. We just completely deviated from the from the conversation, but this is very interesting to see because this is not just because somebody wanted to use it that way. Look at that, guys. Owls, a parliament of owls. You see? Wow, wow, a parliament of owls. A tuxedo of penguins. Seriously? Oh my God, this is just a little bit too much. It sounds like a joke, partially. Um, Well, there you go. There are lots of very interesting names. But the thing, guys, is that this is not taken from anywhere. This is taken from a book which is called The Book of St. Albans, which was an essay on hunting published in 1486. So the thing is that, of course, we've got all these names of animals, but there might be some cases. There might be some cases in which perhaps these names are not very common. You see, for instance, like the conspiracy of lemurs. That's like, I don't know if people actually would say that, or perhaps they would use it only in very specialized contexts. Um, so look, guys, we've got lots of different examples. I'm also going to share this article with you so you can have some fun reading this as well. So we've got several examples here. Uh, you can say, for instance, a parade of elephants, for instance. That also I've seen that before. A cackle of hyenas, a shadow of jaguars. Wow. There you go. This is something very interesting to have a look at. So there you go, guys. So my point with all of this is to see the importance of always keeping in mind, the difference between the names and the collective names for animals, because in some cases we might get a little bit confused. So in the case of elephants, one of the terms that they use quite often is the one that I shared before, which is a herd of animals. We can, of course, make it a little bit simpler, and we could say just a group of, right? A group of elephants, a group of lions, you say, but if we want to be more specific, we should have a look at the collective names and see exactly which collective name we normally would use for that specific group of animals. Okay, collective nouns. That's for you to keep in mind. So guys, so what we're gonna do now is very simple. Once again, individually, guys, you will read this article, this online preview article about a TV program. Okay, so we simply have to read it and identify what is the main topic of the article. That's the only thing we're gonna do. So we're gonna take 2 minutes to read that, and also perhaps to spot some vocabulary that you might find interesting or new that you perhaps don't know. So you can highlight it, and we can try to um, find what that is about. Okay, guys. So I'm going to just pause the recording as you read. We've got 2 minutes and then we'll continue. So please read this article, which is the exercise number 2, guys, please. Here we go. So guys, what would be the main topic of the article? What would you say? How would you simply resume that? What can we say about that article, guys? What is the main topic? What is the main idea of that article? What's the point with the whole thing?
Like to explain how butterflies find the way, find like the sea, like the way, I guess.
Okay. So basically, the article talks about how monarch butterflies manage to navigate 5,000. Can you imagine that? 5,000 kilometers and find the right tree. So it's just shocking to see how a little animal can travel such a long distance, right? So there is an expression. Let me just double check, guys, that we. I cannot see it. I'm sorry. Let me just. I'm just trying to find it here on the article. Um, I cannot see it. I'm sorry. I will check it out a little bit later. But I was looking for an expression. No, I cannot see it. That I wanted to draw attention to. Let me give me 1 second as I try to find it. No, I cannot see it. Now, just wait. I'm just trying to find it. Oh, my scanning skills are not very good this morning. Anyways, okay, guys. So that is how it goes. So that's basically the point with the article. Yes, I couldn't find them. Oh, I'm sorry. So that's the point with the article. So let's see what kinds of well, there are some expressions in blue which we are going to be having a look in a moment at. So with the next exercises, we'll see exactly what these expressions are about, basically. So so Valeria, yes, please, Valeria.
Yeah, teacher, before you continue, I have a question.
Please.
Like in the first paragraph, there's an expression that says to walk due south from there. I know what due means, but I don't know what it means in this situation.
Thank you very much, Valeria. That was the expression I was looking for. I cannot believe it. I was looking for that one and I couldn't. So I said, I was thinking, as you guys are doing the next exercise, I will read it again and we'll find it. I'm so sorry. So yes, that is the expression what I was looking for. So in this context, when you use do right before a direction, you are saying that in this case, the butterflies go in that direction. So for instance, if they say, you decide you want to walk due south from there, it means in that direction, to the south, basically. Due south which would mean to the south or in a southern direction. Okay. That's what it means in this context. When we use do right before a direction, south, north, west, east, it means in that direction. Okay. So you could say, for instance, the butterflies are going due south, for instance. It means that they are going to the south. That's basically what it means. But we can also use do in other contexts, right? So what is this other context in which we know that we can use do? So apart from talking about directions.
When we want to specify something, for example, you say due to the warming.
That is true. That is true. That's another use, which is when we want to talk about the reasons for something, right? the cause of something. So the class was suspended due to due to a problem with the internet connection, for instance, due to that problem. So you want to say that something is an effect of something else, right? That is true. That's a second use. And then there's another one which is very popular, guys. There's another one which is very common. Can you think about that? No?
Could you repeat, teacher? I didn't.
There is another use for do, which is also very common. So we've got, actually the most common could be the one that you shared with us, Felipe. I would say that's the most common. And this is one of the less commons when for talking about directions. But there is another one in which we can use do to talk about times or deadlines, for instance. So for instance, if we say the homework is due tomorrow, you see, that means that the homework is for tomorrow, that the deadline is tomorrow, you see? So this is a very simple word, but you can use it in several contexts. I mean, very different contexts. So we've got at least three here. So one of them has to do with direction, like the one we've got in the book. Another one has to do with explanation of cause effect, as Felipe shared. And a third one could be to talk about deadlines or times in which something is expected to happen. So if you say the homework is due tomorrow, the meeting is due tomorrow, it means that that something should happen tomorrow. Okay, so those are some of the options we've got. Okay, guys, so let me just double check in the case of the exercise 3 how we can do it. So guys, in this case, what I'd like you to do, I would like you to go over the text again, but this time I'd like you to do it in small groups. You guys are going to read the text again. And as you know, the text, oh, okay, we've got a general idea, which is, you know, how the butterflies travel more than 5,000 kilometers, right? We know that that's the main idea. But there are in total 3 points which are essential to the article. So it's like 3 ideas which are developed in the text. So we are going to try to spot those ideas to say like, look, these are the 3 main ideas which are developed in the text. Okay, and for that, I'd like you to work in the breakout rooms with your classmates so you can actually do that. So in this case, guys, I will open the breakout rooms. Let me just stop recording, pause record. Here we go. So guys, let me see. I will share my screen again. Give me a second just to double check I've got everything in place. Yes. So let me share my screen again. So guys, we can say that there are then 3 main points, right? And that's exactly what we're gonna have a look at. So the first point, of course, we already have it, right? We already have that first point, which is the very first idea which is developing the text. Who would like to remind us about that, guys? What is the first main idea, which is the first way also discovered in the previous exercise? Really quick, guys, please. Mun. So what is the main idea of the text? I mean, we know that, right? No idea whatsoever. Have you guys ever been on a date in which you guys like have this very weird, awkward, silent moments in which you don't know exactly what to say by any chance?
Yes, teacher, I have.
Yes,
And
teacher. I really want to talk, but I think that I don't know that I always speak.
that is right.
So I'm kind of tired of that. So I always give the opportunity to other people
Perfect.
to
I
talk.
totally agree. I totally agree with you, Diego. Yes. Yes, Valeria, you guys go on dates? Well, I don't know. That was a question for you. I know that in pandemic times, going on dates, it's not that common, but if you ever go on a date after this, once you get the 2 vaccines and everything, if you ever go on a date, one thing that you should try to handle is that it's not like you need to talk all the time, of course not, but those awkward silent moments on a date don't feel very good, you see. So this is not a date clearly, but it feels similar to that, when you feel like you are keeping the pace and always talking, so the conversation sort of flows. Yeah, I don't like it. And I totally agree with Diego. It's always like, just a couple of people talking all the time, and the rest of you guys are like super silent. And as I've said before, guys, this and actually talking about this seriously, um, this class is somehow one of the opportunities we have to interact in the language and talk to others. So if we don't take the opportunity, well, that's not good, basically. And I don't like to just call you and say like you talk. That doesn't feel that good. So I don't know. Let's go over the points then. As I said, the first one has to do with how the monarch butterfly managed to navigate 5,000 kilometers due south, or 5 kilometers south, right? That was the first point. And the second one, it's about how it does that by by a combination of watching the sun and using an internal clock. That's why they say, right? So how do they actually do that? How come they can travel for 5,000 kilometers in a specific direction? Well, they do it by using the sun as a guide, as a guidance system, some sort of a GPS, right? But also they've got some sort of an internal clock. This is what we've got over here, right? And that's very, very interesting. And the last one says that the butterflies manage to find the correct trees, even though they have never been there before. And there is no scientific evidence on how they actually do that. So there you go, guys. That's exactly what the article was about. So guys, here in the grammar focus box, there is a comment. Wait a minute. Okay, wait a minute. Oh, that's a very good question. So I've received a question from the audience. It sounds like some sort of a radio program, right? In which there you go, because I'm talking myself, just myself, and I'm recording myself so you can watch. I mean, this is how actually a podcast, isn't it? More than a class, this is more like a podcast, in my opinion. I've received a question from the audience, and she says, what is the difference on the use of expressions like travel, walk, run, roam, when it comes to talking about distances? So, well, that's quite a very good question. Let me just I'll just double check that. So it all depends on I mean, the point here with these expressions is that they've got what we call different semantic loads. Let me just put it over here. Different semantic loads. So what is the semantic load? The semantic loads are, we could say, the semantic ingredients a word has. So what do I mean by semantic ingredients, or semantic, or a different semantic loads? It means that there are some verbs. I mean, some verbs tend to be a little bit more specific in certain directions, let's say. So for instance, all of these words that I've said before, that I received from the audience: travel, walk, run, roam, all of them. Let me just copy paste them here so you can see them, because it was a private message, so you cannot see them. All of them have to do with moving from one place to the other, you see? So all of them imply that. So let's say that if we are talking that words have different semantic loads, or distintas cargas semánticas, it means that they got different ingredients. So for instance, these 4 words, that ingredient, which is the idea of moving from one place to the other, the 4 words have that ingredient, let's say. So they are similar in that way. So that's why perhaps this person who asked me that question is comparing them. You see, because they share that ingredient, the idea of moving from one place to the other. But then when we start having a look at each one of the words, they are specific in different ways. So the first one has to do with travel, which means that you are going from one place to the other, but you are not being specific in the way on how you do it. For instance, you can travel by car, you can do it by a plane, you can travel in a boat. So it's a very general word in that sense, you see. And also when we use the word travel, it somehow implies that the distance you are moving is long. So we don't say I travel from Chapinero to the city center. We don't say travel because it's like you're taking it to to uh, to a little bit too far away, right? We can say I traveled to Suva, perhaps because it's so far away. That's different. But we wouldn't say I traveled from Chapinero to the city center. I mean, of course not. You cannot say you don't say I traveled to Suva because once again, it's in the same city. So take it easy. So you would say that you travel. When we say travel, we are talking about longer distances, but we are not being specific in the way we do it. When we talk about walk, it's more specific regarding the way how you move from one place to the other. So that means that you cannot walk by car. I mean, obviously. So you walk using your very own feet, right? And legs. So that means that you go from one place to the other walking. So it's specific in that way. Same thing happens with run, right? So with run, you know that you are moving from one place to the other, but you are doing it fast, in a fast pace, right? You run from this place to the other. And quite often we would also say that we are doing it without using any other means of transportation, right? So we are not using any means of transportation. And in the case of Rome, this is perhaps the most interesting here because it implies going from one place to the other, but without a specific destination. So if you say you are roaming around the city, it means that you are perhaps walking, but you are not going in a specific direction. You are going just anywhere. It doesn't matter exactly where you're going. You see? So basically the answer would be that. I mean, the semantic loads of these words are different. They imply going from one place to the other, but the way you do it is absolutely different, okay? Because each one of these words specifies something that the others don't. So I don't know if that answers the question from the audience. I don't know if that's okay. Or if you got any additional question, I can elaborate a little bit more. No, no, no.
Well,
No,
teacher, I
yes,
have a
teacher is
question.
perfect.
Oh, there you go. Yes, Felipe, you
Uh,
wanted to say something?
Well, semantic loads is something, well, it's kind of similar with travel, trip, and journey. We can assimilate it with
That's a
that's
very good, thank you very much for that, Felipe. That is true. The semantic loads of those words that you just mentioned, like for instance, travel, trip, they are very similar. I mean, the semantic loads are similar because they basically refer to something, yeah, similar, basically. Um, yeah, that's true. Um, also, when talking about that topic, guys, semantic loads, another example that can help you understand a little bit better the difference regarding semantic loads are those adjectives that have negative versus neutral implications. You remember connotation? So for instance, you know that if you say that a person is slim, that's very neutral. It's like she is slim, okay. But if you say she's skinny, those words basically they are very similar regarding the core meaning, but their semantic loads are different because skinny has got a negative connotation, you see. So that is it. I would just leave it like that. When we talk about semantic loads of words, we are talking about all these different ingredients the word has, you know, all the different levels, because the words are doesn't mean the words don't mean simply one thing, but they can have different connotations, different implications, and different intentions, you see. So it's like the ingredients every single word has inside, and they might change a lot. So yes, Felipe, that is right. Okay, I think that's it. So guys, we're gonna go over the grammar focus box. And in this case, they try to somehow classify or sort of describe noun phrases, and they do it in a very funny way. I mean, it's like, of course, it's not that easy to classify noun phrases, but the way they put it here is funny. I mean, yeah, it is. So they say basically that noun phrases can have basically three parts. So one part which they called fact, which I'm sorry, which they call the main central noun, which is a noun which is in the middle of the phrase, and then the parts which come on the sides, let's say. So that's it. That's all the classification. So it's funny, yet that's pretty much the point how it goes. So there is always a central noun. That's what really matters here. So that means, guys, that if we have a central noun, we have, and then I will not ask you to complete this, complete yours. I mean, actually, yeah, we could do it. So you know what, guys, I'll give you just like 3 minutes more or less, so you can do this part of the exercise yourselves. Let's complete the grammar focus, and then we're gonna go over the whole definition on what noun phrases are according to this box. Okay, so just complete these 4 different spaces, empty spaces we've got here, so we can go with a grammar focus box. So guys, we got around 3 minutes to do that, please. Let's have a look at the missing words. So we're gonna go with the first one. I mean, I know this sounds so obvious, but we're still gonna do it. So guys, for the number 1, which is the word that goes here, the number 1, please.
Before.
Clearly, right? Before the noun. And then, of course, number 2,
After.
after the noun. Who could have imagined that, right? After the noun. Then number 3, guys. So what they say here, look, let's read the grammar focus little by little. So they say we can divide a noun phrase into 3 parts. The parts which come before the noun, like another surprising, the main central noun, and the parts which come after the noun about these insects. So remember, guys, that what we call a noun phrase is what we would call in Spanish. How, guys? How would we call this in Spanish? Remember that?
Sintagma.
There you go, Maria Alejandra. That is so right. Es a sintagma. Para ser más específico, sintagma nominal, right? So we know that phrases are groups of related words, right? Phrases are groups of related words. And when we talk about noun phrases, they are a group of related words that denote a noun, which means that there are no verbs. Never. There are never verbs in the noun phrases. That's one thing to keep in mind, right? And we say that the types of words that can go before the nouns are determiners like the, each, several, such. Then we have like beautiful, fascinating, lovely. What's number 3, guys?
Adjectives.
Adjectives, yes, adjectives. There you go, adjectives. Adverbs and adjectives like very intriguing, really dangerous. Also possessives like its, whose, the government's. And then number 4, which is
Noun.
nouns. That is right, nouns. The types of phrases that can go after the noun are prepositional phrases, like on BBC, for children, or adverb phrases, this evening, by car, or clauses. You know what clauses are, right? So yeah, that's how it goes. We've got a grammar reference in page 144, although you guys are experts on language conventions by now, but still, it would be nice if you guys can have a look at that just in case. So guys, now we're gonna go over these exercises. What I'd like you to do, in this case, if that's okay, I'd like you to go back to the breakout rooms and cover the exercises 5, 6A, and 7. Okay, you're gonna do all these exercises together Gonna take around 10 minutes to do these exercises, and then we're gonna come back here for the listening exercise, and we will be pretty much done by then. Okay. Do you have any questions, guys, about this?
No, teacher. Teacher, could you please allow us to share this?
Yeah, I know. This time I'll do it since now because I quite often forget it. Okay, guys, so we're gonna take around 10 minutes, as I said. Let me just double check that I've, there you go. Yes, breakout rooms. So if that's okay, guys, I will open the same rooms that you guys used before for this exercise. And that's it. So we've got 10 minutes, guys. Let's go. Here we go. So guys, in the exercise number 5, as you can see, what we had to do was basically to identify the parts of the phrases, right? And to do that, we would see basically 3 options. First, to identify the parts that go before a noun. Second, the noun, and third, the ones that go after. Nevertheless, we've got to be careful because sometimes it might be a little bit confusing, and we may end up, like putting them wrongly, basically. So, guys, my suggestion in that case, when if we are working with phrases and we want to analyze them, my suggestion is to identify first of all, of course, what they call here the central noun. So in the case of this amazing feat, what would be, guys, the noun in this case of that feat, right? So in that case, feat is the noun. Let me put it a little bit smaller, I believe. Yes, so in that case, guys, feat is the noun, right? That's what we could say in that case. And and this is my point with what I was saying before. And is in this case, as feed is the last word, of course, there is nothing right after the noun, right? So in this case, this and amazing would go just before, right? Before the noun. These are parts that go before the noun. That's exactly how it goes in this case. Let's have a look at the second one, guys. Brian Cox's fascinating program on BBC Two. What would be the noun in that case?
Program.
Program, right? So program would be the noun. And then we've got basically 3 parts, 4 parts more. So it's like very obvious, right? So in this case, we would say this is, of course, before Brian, actually Brian Cox. That's only one, part. Then we've got this adjective, which is fascinating. And then we have on BBC, which is an adverb in this case, after, right? Very simple. Number 3, guys, one of the most incredibly sophisticated and accurate internal clocks found in nature. What is the noun in that case?
Internal clocks.
We could, well, it's actually
Clocks.
just clocks, actually. And well, the rest of the whole thing, guys, is super obvious and super fast, super easy. And nevertheless, you've got to be careful, guys, because we have said that in the case of phrases, it's a group of related words, so we don't have both verbs and nouns. But in this case, for instance, we have a verb in past, right? We have a verb in past. But remember that we said that the difference between a phrase and a clause is that in a clause we have complete verbs, right? Clauses have complete verbs, which means that they are conjugated. And in this case, this verb, it's there not as a complete verb, but actually it has the function of an adjective. If you say found in nature, we are using found as a characteristic of those internal clocks, right? So you gotta be careful because even though if it looks like a verb, I mean, because it's actually, you know, it has the structure of a verb, the function can be different. And in this case, this is not a complete verb. So we have to be very careful with that. So that was it, guys. In the case of the exercise 6A, we had to do some matching, right? So it was basically match the words and phrases 1A in blue in the article to AH in the grammar focus, right? So we've got certain phrases in blue. Let's have a look at that. So the phrases we've got in blue are these. So the first one, Brian Cox, right? Brian Cox, which is the number one, Brian Cox. It goes with which one, guys? Out of all the options we've got, all these
D.
options. D, right? In this case, we're talking about possessives. So one goes with they right here. There we go. Let me just put it a little bit bigger. One goes with they. The second phrase we had was monarch, monarch. So monarch in that case, guys, goes with which one? Monarch goes with, it is a what? What can you say, guys, about that? What's
Why?
monarch? One before. What do you mean? No. I mean, it's the number two, right? Two, monarch goes with which one of these types? We've
E.
got E,
In
it
that
goes
case, it's a noun.
with E, exactly. So E goes with two because monarch is just a noun, that's it, right? It's simply a noun. Then we've got number three, which is there, there. So there would go with which one over here, guys? Number three. Three would go with which one?
Adverb plus adjective.
Well, in this case, to be more specific, it says there where it there where
Sure.
there.
Is that an adverb
No.
phrase? Is
Yes,
that an
that's another phrase. That's true. Yeah, because there is no adjective. That is right. So in that case, it's an adverb phrase. So that's number three, right? Number three goes with J. Number three goes with J. It's an adverb phrase. We don't have any adjective there. Thank you. Then we go with number four, huddling together for warmth. Huddling together for warmth. Language conventions are super important here. Just
That is
saying that.
well.
With age. could
That
be.
four goes with age. That's right. And that is a clause. And why is it a clause? Look, because we do have a complete verb in this case. Look, actually, the subject of that clause is monarchs. Actually, I personally would say that I would correct the text and I would include also monarchs into the clause because we are missing monarchs. I mean, I would personally say that this is a mistake from the book when they say just huddling together for warmth, because this is the main verb, but we need the subject, and the subject in this case is the millions of monarchs, colonies of millions. Actually, this is, oh, well, you know, the thing is that when we say vast colonies of millions of monarchs, the whole thing is a noun phrase. So I understand why they put it like that. It's not necessarily a mistake. The thing is here is that the noun phrase is very long, you see? Vast colonies of millions of monarchs. So that is the subject. And that's why they have put the clause just from here. But actually, the clause goes from here. The whole clause is vast colonies of millions of monarchs huddling together for warmth. The whole thing is it's a clause. So that's how it goes. So that is why this is a clause. Let's continue with the number five. Incredibly sophisticated. Incredibly sophisticated, guys. Number five. It goes with which? With say. It goes with say. Yeah, because we've got both the adverb and the adjective. So that's 5. Oh, I don't know why I forget the numbers just like that. So 5 goes with say. Very good. Nice. So let's go over the number 6. Internal. Very easy. Internal clocks. Internal. Number 6 goes with which one? Internal. Which out of these 8 possibilities, which one is internal?
With B.
B, that is right. 6 goes with B because it's an adjective, right? So that's exactly how it goes. We are almost there, guys. We've got number 7. Another, it goes with which one, guys? Another, number 7, another. Another. Excuse me?
First.
No.
That goes with a prepositional phrase.
Not really. Not really. Because remember, if we say prepositional phrase, just because we say phrase, it means that it has at least 2 words. Because remember that phrases are always groups of words. So, and it's just one word. In this case, we have only one word, which is another. So it cannot be any kind of phrase.
Yeah, I was confused because the last one with about, well, about could be the preposition. So in that case, that is a determiner. Well, I'm not
That
sure.
is a determiner.
But I don't
Yes.
understand why, teacher. Could you please explain?
Why 7? Let me just put it over here. 7 is a 7 goes with a. Why is a determiner? Well, what are determiners in the first place, right? So determiners basically have the function. It's a very similar function to an adjective, but it's not an adjective, of course. But what I mean by having a similar function is that determiners go right before they go right before nouns. Okay, so they always go right before right before the nouns. That's the very first thing to say. But what is the actual function? The function that determiners have is to specialize or to quantify that noun. You see? So you know that adjectives, they modify nouns. We know that. Determiners also modify nouns, but in a very specific way. And it's essentially 2 things what they do. They either specialize or they either specify the noun, you see? So for instance, what do we mean by specialize? Well, when we say, for instance, that like in that case, like this, you see, that you want to say that it is not, for instance, this car, that this is a determiner in that case. So you want to say that that car is not any car, but it's a specific car, you see? It's this car, not any other. But also determiners can sort of specify in terms of quantification. They can quantify the nouns. So like in these cases, we say several, so it's like there are many, or another, like in the case we have it here, you see? That's how I put it. My definition would be that, guys, that determiners are words, or morphemes are words that that can either quantify or specialize a noun. Okay, that's what a determiner does. A determiner specializes or quantifies, or specifies better. It specifies or it quantifies a noun. You see, it does basically those 2 functions. So they look similar. Sometimes they might look a little bit similar to an adjective, but we know that it's not exactly an adjective because it doesn't give it very specific characteristics. It only does those 2 things: it specifies or quantifies. But it quantifies in a very general way. It's not quantification like a specific quantification. It's very broad. Okay, is that a little bit clear?
Yes, teacher, it is.
There you go. And about these insects, we've got number 8. Well, number 8 only can go with F. But let me see. Just double check. Number 8 goes with F about these insects. Number 8 goes right here. Let me double check. So in this case, F, it's prepositional phrases for children about. Well, we've got a preposition, which is about. And right after that, we've got actually a determiner and an adjective, you see. So this altogether would be a prepositional phrase since it starts with a preposition. So guys, that's how it goes. We're gonna continue tomorrow with the final exercises that we have here. My suggestion would be just to go to the page 144, just for you guys to see more examples and definitions on this. But still, feel free to bring your questions tomorrow, and I will be more than happy to answer those questions. Okay, so I will just stop the recording in this moment so we can call the attendance, and then we are good to go. So guys, let me just stop here.